As far as the recording process went, what type of gear and what type of room were you in? And
I'm in a basement bedroom. So I've got my drums, I've got guitars, electric, acoustic, my bass,
Mhm.
keyboards. I got everything all in this room. I haven't treated it, but I've got like a couch, it's carpeted, drop down basement. I've got, artwork and stuff on the walls, but I try to listen to other stuff both on my speakers, but I often use my headphones
Mhm.
so I can compare reference tracks to what I'm doing.
Okay.
So even in this room, whatever pro stuff sounds like in this room,
Mhm.
I can use as a reference.
Yeah, definitely. I'm a huge fan of referencing, so that's awesome.
I got Apollo XHP,
Okay.
so it's great. I got 8 channels there. Oddly enough, I'm mainly a drummer, but I've got Sennheiser drum mics.
Hmm.
But most of the time, I use VSTs for my drums. I just do it, I program it one note at a time
Hmm.
on MIDI. I use the condenser, and I find it nice. Like, I don't have a lot of mics, but that's my main mic for vocals and acoustic guitar.
So yours is orange, mine is blue, and we'll just
Okay.
go back and forth and compare.
I saw you in my dreams last night. You held me tight, said everything's alright. And then the morning light took you from me. When I wake to realize I'm sure with me, the whole world cries. As once again I say goodbye to your love.
The whole goal is a more balanced mix overall. Let's break it down. I didn't do a whole lot, but it did make quite a bit of a difference when comparing it. I took off all your plugins here. This is the main vocal.
Okay.
And I just wanted to start from scratch and see where it goes. So I started with the tuner. I just used Waves Tune, and I put it in C major, and then just listened to it and let it track everything in here. And if a note was off by a little bit, I would just pull it down or just make little tweaks. So a lot of these, let's see what the looks like. I was doing 25 on the speed, 120 on the note transition. So you don't
Right.
really hear a whole lot of the transition of the notes. I didn't want it to sound very noticeable as far as the tuning goes. So just more of like slight corrections whenever it was slightly off. So mouth declick, this is just for any little lip smacks or little click sounds coming from the mouth from the performance. That's it on the main track. The rest is being bussed out. So I bust this over to 24. That main vocal is now going into these plugins. And then I have a send that's going out to a reverb. And then all of the backing vocals right here are coming into the exact same chain but slightly tweaked, just so
Right.
it's fitting those vocals. But I did like that chain, so I kept that, and it's running into the same reverb unit. First thing, EQ, and this one is just to really kind of get rid of that like nasally sound I was hearing in the vocal. Here's a little before and after on this one.
Dreams last night, you held me tight, said everything's alright. In the morning light.
So a lot of low frequencies
Yeah.
and the nasally sound is what I was really trying to get rid of here. And then there are a
Okay.
couple like whistly type sounds in and like little like sounds in her vocal that I'm trying to tweak or pull down a little bit. So that's what these are
Yeah.
for here. Cleaning up, that's usually my first step no matter what. Just throw on a reductive EQ and find the problems and take them out a little bit. And then the next one is some faster compression here to really just like hit the peaks, and then some de-esser because there is some sibilance in there. And then I used a second de-esser, and this one targeted between 5 to 13K and trying to pull it down a bit here.
In the morning light took you from me.
So the sibilance
Yeah.
is still in the song, but it's not annoying, at least.
Yeah.
Like sounds more of like a natural sibilance that you'd hear in somebody's vocal. And then another EQ and doing more reduction here. So here's a little before and after, and this is like a whistly type sound that I was trying to get rid of.
I saw you in my dreams last night. You held me tight, said everything's alright.
And then I wanted to get some saturation in here, and it also gives it a bit of like a clarity because of the air thing here. So
Right.
Here's a little before and after.
Dreams last night, you held me tight, said everything's alright. And then the morning light took you from me.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah. And of course, everybody likes Sings Louder, and this is adding a little bit of that loudness as well.
Bit
So
again, yeah.
yeah. And then last thing on the vocal chain is the Kramer compression here, Kramer Pi. So just doing some compression.
When I wake to realize I'm sure with me, the whole world cries. 'Cause once again I say goodbye to your love. Please let me dream.
All right, that's all the plugins for the vocals, but there is reverb on there, so I'm using Valhalla Vintage Verb, and I'm using this setting here. So it's just a smooth plate, a little bit of pre-delay, and some decay on there. So it's not super short, but it's not extremely long.
Yeah.
And then I love this feature of this EQ, or of this reverb, is the EQ section of it, is being able to cut in the plugin itself instead of having to add an EQ after
Another EQ, afterwards, yeah.
So this is, I just love this plugin. Now, as far as the mastering chain goes, everything is coming over here into this track, and I started with just a gain plugin. The reason I use this gain plugin is because the second plugin I'm going into requires a certain amount of gain to be able to hit the compressor. So this plugin here, which I use all the time and just love it. So I push that gain up, and then I push it up even more in the plugin, and then I could get some of the compression hitting. So let's check this out.
You in my dreams last night, you held me tight, said everything's alright. And then the morning light.
All right, so my favorite feature of this thing is that stereo enhancement. I just love this one specifically over all stereo enhancers that I've ever used before. This one, super basic, but it sounds so good. So I just love putting it up, usually around 30% or so, and then everything below 100 hertz, I just make it mono. So basic, but sounds great. And then the Ssl compressor. Usually I don't need to double up on compression, but I thought this one sounded pretty good on here, so this is what I did.
When I wake to realize I'm sure with me, the whole world cries. 'Cause once again I say goodbye.
It's like barely touching it.
Yeah, it's just very subtle, just enough to round things off.
Yeah, and then just of course it's getting, I put a little bit more on the makeup gain than needed here, but it sounds good, so I just left it like that. And then I love a two limiter approach, and on this one it is simply just cutting off any peaks that come through.
I say goodbye to your love. Please.
So mostly on the chorus, on the louder parts, it's going to be hitting a little bit, and that's just to, you know, make a little bit of headroom on the second compressor or second limiter, so it's not working so hard. And I put my final output minus 0.3 just to make sure I never hit 0. Dither down to 16-bit, do a little bit oversampling so the limiter is working a little bit better, and then just push up the gain.
Please let me dream. Sleep away all my days. Please let me dream. Only.
It's pretty much the same loudness as every other song I referenced. I found that country songs tend to have a similar vibe to it. Not all of them, obviously, but certain ones had a similar vibe. So that's what I was referencing, was a couple country songs that were on a random country playlist, and I just I thought it sounded close enough as far as like where the vocals and the music sat and the clarity of the song overall. and just all of that. That's why I went with this style of the mix. It's
Right.
because those references in those country songs. Thank you guys for watching. If you ever want your song mixed here at Raw Technique Studios, check out hiphopaudioschool.com. I'll have my mixing. I have my courses if you want to learn how to do your own mixing. I have my templates over there if you just want to be able to record and sound good right away. And if you want any one-on-one coaching, hit me up at rawtechniquestudios@gmail.com. Shoot me an email and we can do some one-on-one coaching if that's something you're interested in. All right, so thank you guys for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Peace.